Hey guys, Pro1701 here, and today we're going to be talking some more about the Whittaker era, or the Chibnall era, or whatever you call it. And one of the biggest issues I have with this era, and it really came to me as I was trying to work on, honestly, a couple of different videos that I just wasn't getting anywhere with. Like, I was going to do a video ranking all of the Whittaker era stories from worst to best, ranking each story in order from utter junk to the one episode I might call a masterpiece, maybe. And I couldn't. And I was having trouble. Like, I actually had like a top 9, and then I knew which one was at the bottom. But it's like I talked about in my video when I was talking about the worst story for each Doctor. When I talked about Whittaker's era, I basically said it's like, her era is like being in a big vat full of shit and having to pick out which turd is the worst among a bunch of turds. Well, this is even harder. This is like being in a big vat of shit and having to order the turds from worst to best. Well, that turd is obviously the worst, and that turd's the second worst, and that turd's the third worst. And oh yeah, I think that that turd is the fourth one. And it doesn't work like that. Usually if you're in a big pile of steaming shit, you're just like, oh, they're all bad. They're all bad. Get me out. Get me out. Get me out. Get me out. Trust me, anyone who's ever done plumbing work can tell you it puts a whole new spin on being knee-deep in your work. So that idea, I haven't quite... It hasn't come together. I think what I may do instead is just do like a top 10 list, because I did manage to get like a top 9, and I'm pretty sure I can find a 10th one to put on there, so I may just do a top 10 Whittaker episodes list, or maybe I'll wait until Legends of Sea Devils comes out, hope it's really good, because I love the way the Sea Devil looks in the trailer. I'm really pinning some hopes on that, and then just have it for the list too, and do a top 10. I think I could manage that. I don't think I could rank the whole era. And then I tried doing like I did with Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi, where I ranked all of their episodes, kind of on a chart, like you see people do on the charts on the computers, with like which ones were crap, which ones were bad, which ones were meh, which ones were good, which ones were great, and which ones were masterpieces. And so I was kind of working on that here on my notepad. And I got through series 11 with actually like 3 episodes being in good, but they weren't really like, wow, these are good. It was more like, well, they're good. Like, I enjoyed my rewatch of The Ghost Monument. It's good. For the Whittaker era, it's good. It's not good. It's good. The Whittaker era, I literally need 3 different sections just for good. I need good and good and good. I need like separate sections just for that. And then I got to Resolution, which I thought was pretty good. I actually like Resolution. Then I got to Series 12, and like I was looking at Fugitive of the Jadoon, and I couldn't figure out where to place it, because I like Fugitive of the Jadoon. And I'm like, you know what, that could. I even came up with a new spot. Like I had a spot called Terrific. It went between there was good, great, and masterpiece. So I added Terrific between great and masterpiece. But I still couldn't figure out where to put Fugitive of the Jadoon. I even wrote it down in masterpiece, and then I stopped, and I'm like, because I like Fugitive of the Jadoon. I think it's a good episode. So I like Fugitive of the Jadoon. I think it's a good episode. I think it's not like, say, Rise of Skywalker, where it's going so fast that you don't really notice the mistakes until you start thinking about it later. I actually think, even though it goes fast, I think it pulls what it's trying to do off very well. But I don't think I can put it in masterpiece, because then there's the Pirate. I'd rather watch the Pirate Planet, and I don't consider Pirate Planet a masterpiece. I consider Pirate Planet to be a really good story. Really, really good. It's my favorite story from season 16, but I don't think I would classify it as a masterpiece necessarily. And I'm like, how can I call Fugitive of the Jadoon a masterpiece and Pirate Planet not a masterpiece when I'd rather watch Pirate Planet? Because I like Pirate Planet. I love going back and watching Pirate Planet. And that's when it dawned on me. Why do I love Pirate Planet so much? Why is it so fun? I've talked about it before on the channel. Pirate Planet has a strong rewatchability for me. Just like Ryboss Operation. I don't consider that a masterpiece, but I rewatch both of those stories a lot. I love them. They have a very strong rewatchability. That is the issue I have with the Whittaker era. I do not think it has a strong rewatchability for the most part. Because most of these stories, the bad ones for sure, but even some of the ones I like, I very rarely have an urge to go back and rewatch these episodes. Case in point, stories I talk about on the channel a lot from the Whittaker era that I like. The Haunting of Villa Diodati and the Tesla episode. Most of you guys know I really enjoyed those. I still only seen both of them the first time they aired, or the first time I had them on my Xbox Marketplace. I've only watched them once, right when they first came out. I've never rewatched them. Even though I want to go back and watch them sometime, I just haven't wanted to go back and rewatch them sometime, if that makes sense. Ascension of the Cybermen I enjoyed pretty well. I thought it was a good episode. Haven't wanted to rewatch it. Like, The Haunting of Villa Diodati I like, but it ties in so much with Ascension and Timeless Children, and I really don't want to rewatch Timeless Children. Those do kind of act, while not being three parts of one story, they act almost like a trilogy, like the original Star Wars trilogy. Three stories tied together. The Tesla episode, I don't know why I haven't gone back and rewatched it. I liked it. I do want to see it again. I just haven't wanted to go back and rewatch it. And it's the same problem, especially with the lesser stories. Like Series 11, I have literally turned on my Marketplace, gone into the Series 11 section, and stared at the screen trying to pick one to rewatch. It has happened. And I'm like, all right, I want to do this. I want to go ahead and rewatch it. I want to be able to do something for the channel. I want to review a Series 11 episode. And I can't do it. I managed to do it when I rewatched The Ghost Monument 2 or 3 months back and did a review on that. And to be fair, I enjoyed The Ghost Monument for the most part. I think it's a pretty good episode. I don't think it's great. I think it's good. I enjoyed my rewatch of it. But most of the stuff in Series 11, dear Lord, just the idea of rewatching it. The Woman Who Fell to Earth. I am going to rewatch that soon. That is my New Year's resolution. Sometime this month or next month, I am going to rewatch that one episode. Just because I kind of want to, now that we're so far into this era, I kind of want to rewatch where it began and review it. But man, I'm not looking forward to it. Rosa. You guys know I have some issues with Rosa. I haven't wanted to rewatch that. The Spider episode with Pseudo Trump. That episode sucks. Also, the Doctor is not very doctor-like here. This Doctor is extremely hypocritical, and this is one of those episodes where the Doctor is extremely hypocritical. God, that episode's awesome. Awesome. Did I say that? Cool. Episode's awful. It's awful, 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 awful. And then there's the Sanunga Conundrum, or what is these goofy-ass names this era has? That one's dumb. I swear the creature was originally supposed to look different, but they're like, man, this Baby Yoda thing is popular. Let's do something we can market and turn into a little teddy bear or play doll. Yeah, isn't it cute and adorable? Yeah, let's make it spit up the sonic screwdriver. Let's put a pregnant guy into it too. That'll go over well. Yeah, that episode's garbage. And then they did Demons of the Punjab, which I liked on first viewing. I don't know if I'll like it on rewatch. I liked it the first viewing. I didn't love it. I liked it. But again, don't have a desire to rewatch it. I wonder. That is an episode I wonder if I will enjoy it as much on a rewatch. Don't want to rewatch it. And then there's Kerblam, which I probably consider my favorite episode of the series. But I think it's just good, but it definitely has some confusing messaging there. I'm not quite sure if there was a point they were trying to get across or not to the audience, because I can see that being kind of a confusing mess. I have my own issues with Kerblam. It's another one of those, I'm like, I need to rewatch that. And then I think for a second, I'm like, I don't want to rewatch that. And then there's The Witchfinders, which aside from the awesome performance of King James, I love King James in that one, it's just, I don't care for, especially when I see the mud women, the possessed women. Something about that, just my gag reflex goes, ooh, like with the mud all in, ooh. Just don't like it. And then there's the dumb frog one, and that's what I call it, the dumb frog one. There's a couple ideas there that in theory are sound, but other than that, it's garbage. It is garbage, 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 garbage. I don't like it. What's the name of that one? Is that It Takes You Away? What is it with some of these episode titles having nothing to do with the story? The Dumb Frog one, It Takes You Away. What does that mean? I just call it the Dumb Frog one. I have no desire to rewatch that one. That's... Ooh. And then there's the Battle of Who Cares. I don't really like the Battle of Who Cares. I mean, it's not necessarily forgettable. Just nobody cares. It's uninteresting. It has a villain that I'm like, oh, him again. Also, so he's basically made these other people subservient to him because the doctor sent him there at the end of the first episode, which retroactively makes her a screw-up in her very first story. And now we have a problem here, and we have to deal with it. Oh, wait, what's that guy doing? Oh, he's ripping off the pirate planet with the... Yeah, okay. Stop ripping off better Doctor Who stories, Chibs. I have no desire to rewatch that one. The one exception I will say to the Chibs era that I like and that I find rewatchable are his specials. I like all three of the Dalek specials. I like Resolution. They're all good to varying degrees. I like Resolution. I think it does something new with the Daleks, which I find interesting, how it uses people as puppets. It makes the Daleks menacing and scary again, which all three of the specials do. It's not perfect. I have issues with it, but I liked it. I really enjoyed Revolution of the Daleks. That was a lot of fun. Like watching when the Daleks start exterminating all the people and turn on them. You know, that's one of those things as the audience, we know that's going to happen. When you see them teleporting in it, you're like, oh, crap's about to hit the fan. You know, that's neat to see. And then I love the real Daleks showing up and wiping them out. Because that's exactly what the real Daleks would do, since these other Daleks aren't pure Daleks. So it's nice to see the Daleks kind of being badass. I enjoy that. And then I loved Eve of the Daleks. I'm not going to lie. Flat out, if there is a masterpiece story in the Whittaker era, I think it's Eve of the Daleks. I loved that story. I won't rewatch it for a while just because I just watched it, but it is one I think I'll enjoy my rewatches of. I tend to like Tom Luke, Groundhog Day like stuff, and the added wrinkle of the loop getting shorter each time by a minute. I really like that. I'm surprised that hasn't been done before. Really, really enjoyed that. And again, the Daleks had funny moments while still being menacing and scary. I'll say this: I think Chris Chibnall uses the Daleks better than Moffat does, because I don't really, aside from Victory, which you guys know I tend to find Victory of the Daleks very underrated. I like that one. But the Daleks, even in it, I don't consider them menacing or scary or intimidating. Moffat didn't really utilize it. It's like Moffat never quite knew what to do with the Daleks. And Chris Chibnall, despite everything bad I say about him, he seems to know how to use the Daleks effectively. He's done a good job of making the Daleks scary again. I will give him that. I will admit that. And I do find his Daleks episodes have strong rewatchability. Moving on, though. Again, I've already talked about Series 12. Even the stuff I liked in Series 12, I haven't rewatched a lot. I've rewatched Fugitive of the Jadoon a time or two. I've rewatched Spyfall a time or two. Although I'm not sure if it's actually me going back and rewatching them or just me watching some people doing reaction videos of them when they first came out. I forget. Because there are a couple video reactors I like. Because I have seen some of those. But I think I actually rewatched those a couple times too. Orphan 55, I did rewatch when I did a review of it, and to be fair, Orphan 55 is bad, but it has good moments. I mentioned that in my video. I have a video called Orphan 55, The Good, the Bad, and the Stupid. And there are some good things it does. There are some bad things it does. There are definitely some stupid things it does. Praxis was just forgettable. Don't want to rewatch it. I do want to watch Can You Hear Me Again? Because I like that one. It has a really bad ending, which lets it down. But the story is good. That would have made a good two-parter. It's got a lot of good stuff going on in it. And then there's Flux, which is a perfect example of not having any rewatchability. Who wants to rewatch Flux? I mean, not just because it just came out, but like, Flux is like the epitome of mediocre Doctor Who. Like, seriously, if I was ever to explain mediocre Doctor Who in one word, it would be Flux. Flux is like, by comparison, Flux makes Destiny of the Daleks look like Genesis of the Daleks. And most of you know, I even did a video a few months back, and it was called, What is the Most Mediocre Dalek Story Ever? And it, of course, it was Destiny. I talk about how Destiny, I don't think Destiny's bad. I don't think Destiny's great. I think Destiny is a very mediocre, average story. It does some things I like. It has some issues, like its production values really suffer. Although enhanced special effects help a little. But it's just a very mediocre story. But compared to Flux, first off, at least it's shorter. Like, would you rather watch Destiny of the Daleks or would you rather watch Flux? Well, let's see. Destiny of the Daleks is only 4 parts that are a half hour each, 25 minutes each. Yeah, give me Destiny of the Daleks. Plus, it's Tom Baker being awesome. I'm always cool with Tom Baker being awesome. I mean, you are asking me if I'd rather watch Tom Baker or Jodie Whittaker. Though, in Flux's defense, I will watch Flux over Power of Kroll any day, despite the difference in length, any day. To put it away, I think more fans could connect with. Imagine if someone came up to you, held you at gunpoint, and said, okay, you have a choice. You can either sit down and watch Flux, or you can sit down and watch Colony in Space, or we're going to shoot you. Now, I know some of you would be like, now, when you say shoot me, do you mean fatally? Or more just wounding in the shoulder? I can heal from that. Fatally. Oh. Well, what's it going to be? I'm thinking it over. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I like to think, people would be like, well, Colony, because most of you know I like Colony, but I know most people don't really care for Colony. That is kind of long, drawn out, probably gets a little dull to some people. But it's also shorter than Flux. They're both 6-part stories. That's basically what Flux is one 6-part story. But at least Colony in Space is 6 parts that are 25 minutes long, whereas Flux is like 50 to an hour a minute, and 50 minutes to an hour long. So I'd like to think some people would be like, you know what? I'm going to take Colony in Space just because it's shorter, and at least I've got John Pertwee and Katie Manning. And Roger Delgado. As Flux, you have Whittaker. And granted, she's better in here than her acting is better that season, but still, give me the 25-minute episodes over the hour-long episodes. At least now, personally, I don't dislike Colony in Space. I really like Colony in Space. Matter of fact, I think Colony in Space is probably John Pertwee's most underrated story. Spoiler alert for when I eventually do my video about the Third Doctor's most underrated story. Probably Colony in Space. I like that one a lot. But to be fair, I don't hate Flux. I don't. Let me be clear. I do think it's mediocre. I don't think it's bad. I don't really think it's good. It does some good things. It does some bad things. It does some stupid things. That would be another good video for good, bad, and stupid. I might do that in a few months down the line. But I'd just rather rewatch Colony in Space. I basically, to sum all of this back up, one of the biggest issues, thinking about it when I was trying to work on these other 2 Whittaker era videos that aren't coming together, the ranking from worst to best and the ranking on the chart, neither one of them were coming together. And a lot of it is, I probably just need to rewatch some of these episodes. But I don't want to rewatch a lot of those episodes. I don't think this era has a strong rewatchability. I don't. Most of the other stuff I can go back to. I can go back and watch the Tom Baker story. I can go back and watch Troughton. I can go back and watch a lot of Hartnell, not the Gunfighters. A lot of Hartnell. I love going back and rewatching like The Ark or The Reign of Terror. I think I watched The Reign of Terror twice this year. Or either that or I watched it last year and this year. It's really good. It's a story that has a strong rewatchability for me. Even stories I'm not necessarily as fond of, The Horns of Nymon. Even though it's objectively bad, it has a strong rewatchability to me. I mean, Whittaker does have what could technically be stronger episodes than The Horns of Nymon objectively, but I like basically the whole pantomime thing it's got going. It makes it fun and silly and campy, and I'm all there for it. So I would like to know, what do you think? Do you consider this a big issue of the Whittaker era? What do you think of its rewatchability? I would like to know what you think. What do you think of the Dalek specials? And how would you compare them? Other things to do. Click the like button. Click the subscribe button. Click the bell for notifications so you never miss out on another video. I am still trying to grow the channel to 1,000 subscribers. That is my goal. And we're at like 634, I think, right now. So we're on our way. So if you haven't clicked that subscribe button yet, I'd really appreciate you doing that. I also have a Patreon. If you like what I do and would like to contribute to what I do, there is a link to my Patreon down in the description below. I want to give a special shout out to a couple of my top tier patrons, the Fifth Doctor and Stephen Crane. Steven's actually been one of my patrons for a while now. He was at one of my middle tiers, and then he actually upgraded to my top tier. Really appreciate that, buddy. Me and Steven actually talk a lot in the messages actually on the Patreon. He is a very intelligent, well-spoken fellow, and he likes coming up with ideas that make me think. He wants me to do a really good video about Black Orchid. I think he knows I'm not fond of Black Orchid. And I really think he likes giving me stories. Anytime I do a poll that has a story I don't like in it as an option for wanting me to do a review on, he always picks it. But I am grateful for all of my Patreons, my patrons, from the entry level all the way up to the top tier. Thank you, all of you. I really appreciate it. There's a lot of neat stuff on the Patreon. I do polls, I do behind the scenes things, I do exclusive reviews just for them. Some of the polls that they have, they vote on which review they get. They also get to vote on reviews I do on the channel. They also get behind the scenes stuff, like if I do life updates talking about me or showing off some of my collection and stuff. So if that's something that interests you, plus it's, not gonna lie, it's really nice anytime I get like an email saying, hey, you know, you've got a new patron. That kind of puts a smile on my face. The idea that people like hearing me talk about Doctor Who enough to financially support me and help me out, means a lot to me. It surprises the heck out of me, to be honest, but it really means a lot to me. Just like seeing the subscriber count go up always puts a smile on my face. So thank you to all of my patrons and all of my subscribers and all of my viewers as well. Most importantly, thank you for watching. It does a lot. I think it has a good rewatchability to it.